The number one reason you're not achieving the success you know you can in any area of your life is actually really simple. It's just one simple thing. You're not doing your best. Now, before you stop the video and say, yes, I am, I'm doing my best, hear me out. I want to assure you that you have far more capability, far more capacity, far more ability, far more power than you think you do. But if you're like most people, you've never tapped into it. And so you aren't doing your absolute very best, even though, like I used to do, and maybe you still do, you tell yourself, I'm doing my best. Like, what else can I do? Right? And we tell ourselves that story of like, oh, well, I did my best. That's all I can do. But usually that's just a cop-out, because most of us have far more capacity than we ever reach into. But maybe it's not your fault, because you didn't know that. You haven't had to leverage it. But I want to ask you a question. What happens if you do not do your very best? And I think you know the answer. You end up settling for an average, mediocre life. And what could possibly be worse than getting to the end of your life and looking back and realized you lived a mediocre existence simply because you didn't truly do your best? Oh! Hi, I'm Greg Denning. When I was out on my own at 16, because I left, I wanted to do life differently. I wanted to seek better things, right? And I was frustrated with what was going on at home. And so I got out there, and as a teen and into my early 20s, I was going along and I was doing well, right? I was working hard, and I kept telling myself, oh, I'm doing my best, but I wasn't winning. I wasn't succeeding. I wasn't achieving like I wanted to. And other people around me, they were achieving. I'm like, what's wrong? I'm working hard. I'm doing my best. And I was surrounded by people who kept telling me and telling themselves and telling everybody else, I'm doing my best. What else can you expect? I'm doing my best. And then I learned something. I learned that there are ways that people can do far more than they think they can. It started with some books. I started reading these books about people in World War II in concentration camps in crazy circumstances that did seemingly superhuman things. And I learned something. I learned that you're far more capable than you think you are. But I learned two really important lessons I want to share right now. Number one, you cannot, it is impossible for you to live at your very best if you are making excuses, if you're blaming other people, if you're blaming your circumstances, or in any way playing the victim. Because as long as you hand over your power to your circumstances or to someone else, as long as you make excuses, you are not doing your very best. So in order to be your best, you have to take 100% ownership of every outcome in your life. The second thing I learned is that the law of doing your best simply states that nothing will get better in your life until you get better. Whoa! And that everything in your life gets better as you get better. And so when I improved myself, my circumstances changed. When I gained the skill set and the mindset and the heart set, everything got better. And I was able to increase my capacity to do my best. So, for example, if you're overweight and you're struggling to get in shape and get healthy, and you keep, and you work out, right? You go out, you go on a walk, you go on a run, you go on a bike ride, you go jump in the pool, you go play some sports. Are you really doing your best? Or are you like a lot of people that they just kind of go through the motions and they put in some effort, but they don't give their best effort? So maybe you go out for a walk, but you just kind of stroll. You don't really want to get that sweaty, right? Or you go out for a run and you put in a mile, but in your mind, if you're honest with yourself, you know you could have done 2. Or you're working on your relationships and you try a little bit, but you get distracted, or you'd rather just watch a show, or instead of reading that book and studying and working on that skill set, you just I'm going to scroll here on social media. Or if it's your finances, maybe your finances are in trouble right now. And instead of giving your very best, you put forth some effort and you'll say, well, I tried. And you end up settling. And so I want to invite you right now, total honesty with yourself. And this can hurt, can't it? Like it gets a little bit painful. But you have to look at yourself and say, am I doing my absolute very best? And if you're not, and if you have more capacity than you've been using, then that's the key. That's what's holding you back and stopping you. So when I realized this, I had to get some leverage. And how do you get leverage, right? Because you get more power. You're like, well, how do I do that? I was trying. I went. I did everything I could. I did everything I knew how. What more could I possibly do? And you get some leverage. And when I realized this happened to me when I was 17. I read an incredible book. And this woman, it was two ladies, they did the most unbelievable things. And I realized if your life is on the line, if it's an actual emergency, I mean, think about it when there's a natural disaster, when there's wars, when there's some kind of crazy emergency situation, people will do superhuman things. Well, how do they do it? It's leverage. And so I love to say this to my kids, and I'll say it to you. You might say, oh, I couldn't do any more. That was it. I was done. I was so exhausted. I was so tired. I just couldn't go any further. I did the best I could. And I love to ask the question. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What if somebody was standing there offering you $10 million? Could you do it then? And almost always like, oh, yeah, right? Could you get up early? Because real achievers are reading great books. They're getting up early. They have awesome habits. Can you get out of bed a little earlier to start your day with more power? Oh, I can. I'm doing my best. It's the best I can to get up. What if it was worth $10 million? Could you get out of bed earlier? Absolutely. And maybe that doesn't motivate you, but how about this one? What if somebody was threatening your life? Or, even more leverage, what if somebody was threatening the life of a loved one? And they said, look, if you don't do this, we're going to take their life. That's motivation. You can do superhuman things, which just proves that you already have the capacity to do it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to find some leverage. I want to pick the area of your life where you feel like you're not winning, you're not succeeding, you're not reaching the levels you know are possible for you. And honestly look and say, is it true that the one thing that's holding me back is that I'm not doing my absolute very best? And then use some mental leverage and say, wait a minute. If this was worth millions of dollars, could I do it? Yes. If my life was on the line, could I do it? Yes. If the life of someone I love the most in the world was on the line, could I do more? And could I do it better? And if the answer is yes, then lean in. So pick the area of your life right now. And here's what I want you to do. It's super simple, but it's super powerful. Grab a 3x5 card or a piece of paper, and I want you to write down what area of your life you need to focus on where you're not winning. And it could be health, it could be mindset, emotions, it could be your spirituality, it could be your finances, your relationships, your friendships. It could be any area of your life where you're just struggling to succeed. Write that thing down, and then here's the key. Write down what you would actually do if you were doing your very best. Get that on paper, and then commit to it, and sign it. And maybe write it down. Say, I commit to do my very best in this thing. So why settle for a 5K run when you know you can do a 50K? Why settle for a 10% raise at work when you know you can get 25 or 50 or maybe even double your income if you were actually doing your very best? If you want to start a business or scale your business, and you've been given a little bit of effort here, and maybe you've been busy, and maybe you've been working. And so kudos to you, and praise and honor to you. I know you've been working hard, I know you've been trying hard, but really, honestly, is it your absolute very best? I think you have more. I believe in you, and I think you have more capacity and more power than you have tapped into yet. And so if it's spirituality, don't settle for a a simple rote prayer. Really cultivate a relationship with God. If it's your mindset, don't settle for allowing things to distract you and living with and hiding behind your fears and allowing yourself to get depressed or discouraged or anxious all the time, or when somebody says something it totally throws you off, or you get distracted all the time. Don't settle for that. Do your very best. Cultivate mental power so you never get rattled again. Maybe it's your emotions. Maybe emotionally you're all over the place and it's disrupting your work or your relationship, your life. Learn to manage your emotion. Do your very best at being emotionally healthy and well. Friendships, relationships, leadership. Do your very best and refuse to settle for anything less. See, this is what I talk about when I'm coaching. When I get to work with awesome people, or in my MASTERCLASS for men, we go through and I give specific training on each of those areas of life so that you can do your very best. Because the number one thing that's stopping you from winning and really succeeding is that you're stopping short of what's your best. And now maybe you've done this too. I know I was like, well, that was my best. I did my best. Oh man, I tried. I gave it my best effort. And I say things like that all the time. And people will come up and tell you, oh, well, it's okay. You did your best. I'm sure you gave it your best effort. And I kept saying it's right here, when in reality, it was up here. And when I stopped and I was honest with myself, I said, no, I have more to give. And sometimes it doesn't always mean more time or more strain. Sometimes it's just doing it better. And it even works out where you do it in less time. Sometimes your best is actually less effort. Right? You know what I'm talking about. Have you done a project and because you weren't giving it your best effort, it took a lot longer than you thought? Or you actually had to go back and do it again because you didn't do it with your best effort? So lean in. Everything that's important to you, give it your very best and increase your capacity. Work on yourself. Do everything in your life to give your absolute very best, and it will unlock potential and power and doors and opportunities, and you'll be able to get the success that you deserve and you know you're capable of. Reach upward.